So when you drive by City Hall, there's a really elegant sign in front of the building, and you might think that's the city seal, but it isn't. You may wonder what a city seal is. A city seal is the legal insignia of the community, and Saginaw has had the same seal since the 1930s. And that's the story we're going to explore briefly. You might think that city seals are something that we just make up, but that isn't the case at all. Actually, an act of the state legislature from 1895 outlines how they're used, when they're required, substitutes for seals, and Saginaw has had, as I said, has had a seal, the same city seal since 1936. The use of the Saginaw City Seal is actually spelled out quite carefully for citizens, that it's not to be used for commercial purposes, and go to the city's website and you can find all the details. What we want to look at is the early history of the seal, and to do that you have to have a little bit of history of the history of Saginaw. If you didn't know, and we hope you do know, but Saginaw was originally two separate cities, Saginaw City and the city of East Saginaw. They were officially joined by an act of the state legislature in 1889, and it became official in 1890. And with that joining of the two cities, one of the things that happened was City Hall was to be positioned halfway between the two business districts. And the charter spelling out the consolidation has provisions for the city seal in it. We're not quite certain exactly of every iteration of the city seal. We know we find this one being used in the 1920s on the back of official proceedings of the council and boards of the city of Saginaw. And it's a rather straightforward seal, and it's on a metallic background and affixed to the books, indicating that they are actually legitimate copies. At the same time, we have to note, and this will become important later, that Saginaw in the early 20th century had adopted in 1907 unofficial, not by the city council, but city colors. They were yellow, white, and black. Yellow for lumbering, white for salt, and black for coal. And this will become a reason why I digress for a second. It will become apparent in just a moment. One of the things that kind of leads up to the adoption of a new city seal, the one we have today, was a fire in City Hall on April 9th, 1935. The building was completely gutted and a new city hall had to be constructed. At about that same time, the city of Saginaw adopted a new city charter, and it's the one that still, with amendments, governs the city today. So the city, forming a new council after the adoption of a new charter, monitoring the construction of a new city hall, decided it was, and this is in the midst of the Depression, decided it's time to take up the idea of having a symbolic city seal, one that really tells the story of the city, or that's what ended up being chosen. And here's just the resolutions in the city council proceedings where they decide to hold a contest. 29 entries were received, and the winning entry was designed by a young man by the name of Albert W. Schaefer. The seal that he designed was described in the newspaper. The seal is a novel picturization of Saginaw's development. Notice the inner border, half of which represents a circular saw, typifying Saginaw's lumbering era. The other half represents a gear, synonymous with the current industrial activity here. The seal will be slightly revised to bring into the picture a reference to Saginaw's part in the automobile industry, now the city's principal employment source. Within a few months after the contest, and Mr. Schaefer won an overwhelming prize of $25, which was a lot of money during the Depression. It was money put up by members of the city council. and we just see the development of the seal and its adoption. And seals, as spelled out, can be used in many ways. They can be embossed on legal documents. They can be done in wax to affix to an official document. Or they can be done in color and being used to not so much as an official designation, but really as almost a logo. So what happens is the city seal for 20 years or so was just used as a seal. It appeared on documents, it probably appeared on a couple of things, but it really wasn't, I don't think, emblazoned on cars. But what happened in 1955, at the request of a reserve group, the city manager's office developed a city flag. And kind of based on the idea of the Michigan state flag, they simply took the official seal of Saginaw and put it on a forest green background. And for the next few years, that sufficed quite well. The city council became more aware of what's going on. They were going to officially adopt a city flag. And in 1963, it became kind of a heated debate, and actually with kind of a gender division that we wouldn't today expect. Men were not supposed to weigh in the colors, women were, and at one meeting, the only female council person at the meeting wasn't there, and they lamented her absence because she could have solved the problem. So it became more and more debated, and a women's council of, I think it's 23 members, created a mock-up of the flag as they saw it should be, and they used what they described as cruise blue as the background. They described the cruise blue background in their color choice, and I'm going to read for a second. We used the city seal at the request of the city manager. We chose the cruise blue field to represent the world's best water. Remember, Saginaw had only 15 years before had completed the water line to Whitestone Point and was very proud of our water sources. We should be today. The black lettering to represent our coal mines, the green tree our lumbering days, the white our salt mines. We never had salt mines, we only had brine wells. The gold background of the seal, the money obtained from these industries. It is our understanding that only by you, the people, make known your choice to the city council, and they continue on campaigning for their design. So what happened was, over the next few months, in recently completed Heritage Park, examples of both of the city flags were displayed. The forest green background one and the cruise blue background one. And we have a photograph that we're showing right now of it showing the flag on display in the park. So in the end, on May 11th, 1964, it was resolved that the City of Saginaw flag would be the cruise blue background one designed by the Women's Council. And so whenever you receive a letter from the city, when you see a city car go by, you now know a little bit more about the story of Saginaw's seal and Saginaw's official city banner. And we will note that Mr. Schaefer was incredibly proud of his accomplishment, and it was mentioned in his obituary, and it is a seal that still represents the community, although we could probably add other elements because history never quite stays still and we keep growing and moving forward. So go out and see how many city seals you can count today.